me knowing and watching, I didn't feel it. So anyway, we're live, and I want to invite in our YouTube family, Lessons from the Journey Live YouTube family. Come on into the watch party. I am your host, Sean L. Brown, and this is my watch party family. I haven't opened up this room to everybody yet. This is only for my family because this is just a baby concept. But when it's full grown, we'll have a plan for you to enter. But until then, just watch on YouTube. What's the little thingy? What do you call it? The title is Lessons from the Journey on YouTube. So if you haven't, go subscribe and like it. We are in a series right now called Unparented, and we just watched episode 4. Episode 4 was all about the road to reconciliation. I want to give a huge shout out to Miss Wanda, because one thing about Miss Wanda, this is what I say about her. I call it this came up in my head while I was watching. I said, she is the mother of media. She is so sensitive in handling these really complex conversations and issues. There's nobody else that I would want to guide other than her, especially for some reason. Episode 4, she will be driving episode 5 as well. She's just incredible. So she is doing her own show today and couldn't be with us. I just want to tell her, Miss Wanda, I love you and thank you. I want to start real quick. I'm going to come to you, Nicole, because you are our series expert. But I want to start with Craig today. Craig, as your brand manager, don't I always tell you that you are the father to the world? Don't I say it all the time?
I don't remember.
You do. What I saw in that episode was exactly what God has shown me about you is your ability to father. What did you see that needed to be done with K Loud? Because it was excellent.
Well, I didn't. I just responded to the way Lord showed me to respond to him, and that was it. There was no script. There was no plan. I had, most of the time I come into these episodes without anything that I know I'm supposed to say, except for when we let the men's only show or
Yeah.
the interview with Dre. But beyond that, it was just I'm just sitting there, and then just it just felt like it was needed to have been said in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. How did K Loud impact you? Because I felt like I couldn't see you, but I heard emotion. Like I heard the emotion. As a matter of fact, my daughter is on today and she wrote, this is beautiful. What happened inside of you as you listened to him?
There was a part that saw, I don't want to say me because our lives are not the same, but I guess from being a father, I saw the lack of a future father if he allowed himself to continue to be in that space, and felt how absent the world would be without his voice and his word and his presence. And that grieved me as if he was already gone because
Yeah.
he was choosing not to be present in that group. And so that was tough because I know what I went through and am going through. And I know what I wanted and was looking for in a person and another man to mentor and be there. And I know what I want my sons to be able to look for, an anchor, and a world without a person like Kaylon or Kaylin, using his government name. It seems like it would be a very empty place. It would be a place that would be lacking. And I didn't want that. That felt wrong on so many levels. And if
Yeah.
there's anything that I could possibly do, I needed to do it.
Mm.
Making myself available to him. I need to do that. I need to make it. I need to, even if it does mean moving to Arizona and living in the heat through a hot summer,
Isn't it
it needs
interesting
to
you're going
happen.
to Arizona? Isn't that
Yeah.
kind of interesting that you're going to where he lives?
Yeah. Different cities, of course, but not
Different
terribly far
cities,
apart.
but not far apart. And
Yeah.
when God said, I'm calling you to unite and change the world
Mm-hmm.
together, do you know how crazy that sounded to me? But
Yeah.
looking at what's happening right now,
Mm-hmm.
it's not so crazy.
Hmm.
because God is doing it through something like this. And it's not just happening in the virtual space. You guys are about to come together in the physical space, but it starts here in the virtual space. And it starts with just sheer dogged obedience to do what you've never seen done before. So I
Yeah.
just want to say thank you.
I thank you because I wouldn't. This was not something I even wanted to do. Even doing the weekly things, I'm like, oh, come on. Just she'll eventually call me and say, "Don't worry about it. I got someone else. Go do your thing." Because I'm saying because on so many cases, I'm like, there's nothing here that I don't want to say of no value, but I mean, this is a different kind of machine right here. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many other people that can be able to do what they're supposed to do. Um, One thing too, in that I wanted to say last on Kalen is I lost the train. I lost. I thought it was something I needed to him to hear. But in any case, he needs to be present for this and for so many other things, not just this show, but just life in general. Because if we don't, each one of us teach another one of us to do something, then uniting and changing the world doesn't have the same impact. If we're not the fathers, the mothers, the people in general we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be it, then someone else doesn't have that lighthouse on shore when they may be out in the water at the darkest points of their life, not sure if they even want to swim because they don't know what direction to swim. But if there's a
Mhm.
lighthouse, a person like Kay Loud or a person like myself or yourself, everyone on this video, and then other people out there who are making a difference outside for those who need that difference, they've got to be there. Otherwise, they drown, and then the world is again lacking for another life that could make a difference. The difference makers need help. So if nothing else, we got to keep the light on for those who want to make a difference.
Nicole, our series expert, I'm just going to ask you to speak on the impact of Unparented and especially Unparented episode 4.
This episode hit home because, I'm raising men myself. And just having that opportunity to hear Kaylaut's heart, unedited, unscripted, just flat out, this is how I see it. This is how I feel. It just moved me so deeply just to hear that because a lot of times men get shut down. They don't get to speak. They don't get to be heard. And it's hard to come into a space where the emotion is strong and all of us, I think all four of us got pulled into this whirlwind of emotion by the fact that we had that jumping off spot of fatherlessness. Whether
Mhm.
I had my dad in the house and he wasn't present, or whether my dad was a great dad, or whether my dad was completely physically absent. It's just a whole whirlwind of emotion. And Craig, I have to say, the lighthouse situation that you just spoke on, it's a fact that each one of us are supposed to be showing the light of the Lord.
That's right.
But each one of us is so unique that I can't discount and say, oh, anybody can do that. So, Mr. Craig, I'm going to say only you could have spoken to his heart the way you did. I have a 35-year-old and I'm raising a 26-year-old. I couldn't speak to him the way you did because my name's not Craig Carlisle. You have a unique way of getting to the point of the matter with a fierce, piercing light that doesn't allow the darkness just to sit still. You make it move. You make it happen. So uniquely you for this particular one. I've seen you on others, amazing always, but this particular one, yeah, our eyes were all sweating. Hmm.
Mhm.
I think, and I appreciate that because it's easy to discount yourself and look as all we see is us, and that's us, our small little space, right? Sean, you always talk about the sheer raw number of the people in the world. And I always make a joke of it. Oh, what's the number today, Sean? Is it 17 billion of trillion, whatever it is? And we laugh. And it's easy to get caught in the number and the magnitude and the gravity of those numbers of each one of those souls that pull. towards that. But you mentioned it before. If each one of us don't take our space, to use your football analogy, if we don't win our play, if we don't champion that space, if we don't make the play and then forget about that play and go make the next play and whatever that play is, if we don't do that, then there's no way we have a shot at reaching any of those people, however many, 2, 3 billion, trillion, or two. We have to do it ourselves because we have to reach us first, and then anyone else applies.
Nicole, so everybody who would like to comment, I want you to put a hand up because after I talk to Nicole, I'm going to start to call on you and get your thoughts, your questions answered, just your thoughts shared. But Nicole, you wrote starting with me, and starting with me has become so, I wouldn't, we would, this thing wouldn't even be happening if not without starting with me. Starting with me held my feet to the fire of reality. What is the truth, right? And it does start with me. It starts with me, dealing with me, being me, becoming me, living as me, and the fruit of being me will naturally produce itself. But the problem is, I didn't know what me was. Can you do me a favor? And you knew you had to know that I was going to ask for this. Can you please share starting with me with us?
I will share my favorite line, and then I'll
Line,
share
and I'll share.
the line that reminds me of this conversation is a drop of water in the bucket of this life's time. That we're all drops of water. And without us, there would be no ocean, right? So starting with me, I choose
I
to be
choose to be.
one of the ones who change the world. Starting with me, I choose to be a giver, not a taker, a lover and alive. I can change each day, make each one a better place to be. I can change the course of history, creating another destiny than the one chosen by the forces who once had control. Yeah, starting with me, I choose to be one of the ones who changed the world. And I know tomorrow is much too late. So I begin today and I don't hesitate to show that I'm a walker, not a talker. I live today, not times past, giving treasures sure to last. Gifts from my mind, drops of water in the bucket of this life's time. I dance the dance. The music plays so free. I can change this world's sad song, one note at a time, until the whole world is a symphony.
Mm.
Yeah, I can change the world, starting with me. It's
It's
got to start with me.
so powerful, right? It is so powerful because at the end of the day, the change, if you're a parent, it starts with you. I can Parenting is a whole other world, right? And when you come into a parenting situation with a broken wing, it is very, very, very hard not to pass down the coping mechanisms that were forged as a result of the broken wing, right? And then if you come into it with a broken wing and you don't know you got a broken wing, it's virtually impossible not to throw that crap off onto your children, right? So here I am, 56, and I have to let starting with me replay in my mind because now I have a grandson. And when I look at the purity of who he is, right? That core force, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, we're all teaching him what being human is. We're literally saying what we're showing you by our thoughts, our choices, our attitudes. This is being human. And he's taking it all in and going, okay, that's being human. It's a responsibility to be yourself. So I would encourage all of you to consider, what does it mean? What does starting with me mean to you today? Anybody want to share conversation, Craig? Go ahead.
Hey, since you've got a grandson, you're actually raising men, right?
I
So you
am. So are
have
you
to
about to have me on your
adjust.
show?
Yeah. I was going to really do that too, and not trying to hijack anything, but I need to have you and his mother, his father, you being a grandmother, I mean, Dre, his grandfather. You all need to be guests separately, not any four boxes. No, it's each of you have your own box because each of you have your own definition of what that means and what does raising men mean to you, and that's the culminating question at the end of that show will be what does raising men mean to you, because what that means will play out in that child's life. You're
Right.
not, I mean, I understand we always talk baby talk to children, but you're not raising a kid or a child, you're raising a man.
A
And
man.
so how we posture ourselves, how we respond to it, it makes a difference. And that's how we got the name of Raising Men. It came from that kind of reality and a conversation with my late wife, who she was saying, "Oh, we're raising all these boys." And like, no, no, no. We are raising
Absolutely.
men. And we've got to stay with that philosophy from the moment that we realize it to the moment they die, because we're never fully developed. But we've got to keep developing until we die. Otherwise, we've got a problem.
This week a book dropped in my spirit. I was going to talk to you about it next week, Nicole. And it's a children's book series. And what the Lord wants me to call it is Granny B, Teach Me How to Be Human.
Mm.
And, the Lord said, Sean, I want you to throw off all the titles: woman, man, boy, girl. I want you to throw all that off. He said, because the big problem is you don't understand human and what I determined as human. Then all of these other things come into play that go alongside of my ultimate plan for your life. But the first thing is, what's a human? And what's a human at age 1? What's a human at age 2? Because yes, we are raising him to be a man. But in my Coach Shawnee world, my football team starts with Pee Wee. So I've got a Pee Wee football player. He's not NFL. So I can't treat him like he's NFL. I have to develop him up, raise him up so that when he becomes NFL qualified, he's ready from the root to the toot. And I don't think that we know really well what it means to be human. And I think that's why we struggle so hard, because we don't know what it really means, and to be able to accept I'm only human. I'm born to make mistakes, because human by its nature is a learning, growth, and development process. So, man, woman, child, husband, wife, mother, father, all of those things are roles that the human gets to play. But if I don't understand that I'm human first, the roles don't mean jack. Anybody want to touch on that? Anybody?
Oh, but it's there. I'm sorry. I always feel like the one I was talking on the most, but it's true. And I used to always teach my sons how to do certain things at certain times, how to iron. They each of them learned to iron when they were like 9 or less. But I didn't teach them. I taught one of them, and then the next one that was up, they taught the next one
Mhm.
how to iron and teach them how to do age appropriate chores,
That's
dishes,
right.
cleaning, or whatever. So I don't then throw them out there to be, where you playing with the stove and you could barely walk. So no, so it's like you're saying, it's a training process, and the ultimate goal is to train them, like you said, to be NFL eligible and ready, with always that in mind. So
That's
it's
right.
it's always, all the training has to come with that as a mindset of where is the player, the child, the student, the person supposed to be
Mhm.
ultimately. And
Ultimately.
just, you have to get them there almost by any means necessary.
Absolutely. Which means that if I am lacking, I got to do my own work as a player. I got to be a player coach. I can't just be a coach. I got to be a player coach. I got to be playing the game of life so that I can master and manage it well. So then what I'm handing off, I'm not teaching my football player how to be a baseball player and then he'd be confused because he does on the wrong foot field, right? And I trained him wrong. So it's a whole process of unparenting. And to your point, Craig, that is what I put the definition of unparenting, because I didn't know that you didn't know that it was the meanings of unparented. But let me give it to you: the developmental experience of growing, surviving, adapting, or becoming without receiving some of the essential parenting needed to securely become yourself. To unparent is the intentional process of identifying, examining, pruning away, and replacing inherited or imprinted beliefs, patterns, roles, coping mechanisms, expectations, and ways of relating that were formed through your parenting experience but no longer serve who you are becoming, or the purpose you are called to fulfill. That makes the word powerful, because un doesn't only mean without. It can represent undoing, unlearn, uncover, unpack, unattach, unbecome, unbind, unburden, and then become. Importantly, unparenting isn't simply rejecting your parents or deciding everything they taught you was wrong. Some things should be kept, some need to be understood. Some need to be grieved. Some need to be reconciled. And some need to be pruned. That is the full definition of unparented. And what this, which I now know is not just a series, this is about to become a teaching tool in the Shawneeville global community, because it is a work that every single creation of God's has to do. Maisha?
First, I think that you should put that definition. I think you can leave a comment in YouTube, but you should, somebody needs to put that definition for folks to see and go back and reference that. I think that that's beautiful. But I had to put the call on hold for a minute. When I came back on, Kaylin was Caleb was very passionate. You know, I could tell he was really, really passionate.
Mhm,
Um, and you know what it reminded me of, Sean? Reminds me of, you know, your brother and your nephew.
mhm,
So I think that there it um it allows for young men to have that conversation and to start talking about it.
that's right. That's right. It's vital. It's vital. Renee Brown, how did this episode impact you? So I think we've seen it two times, three times, maybe.
It was very good. It was very good. I felt like mm, I felt like when when I listened to it and it was over, I said I knew I was right about this episode being a
Mhm,
men thing. I said I knew I was right. I didn't know what was going to come, and that's what I told you. I said I don't know what they're going to do, but I feel like that's what it should be. And the fact that Kalen, I wish he was on this right now so that he could hear all these things. But as a 26-year-old man, to be that vulnerable and that passionate about your life, and then the parts when he was saying that he felt like he didn't want to be here sometime,
mhm.
you know, that was true honesty.
Yeah.
A lot of people would have never said that because of the fear of everybody saying, "Oh my God, he's gonna kill," the whole thing. But
Mhm,
how
mhm,
many times have you had that thought as an individual? Whether you were gonna carry it out, whether you know what I'm saying, but the thought came to you that if I was just not here, this would all go away,
mhm,
you know?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so his vulnerability was just off the hook for me. And then the things that he was saying are the things that's what people think, young people think about now. You know
right.
what I'm saying? And there's this age thing that's happening, but what it tells me is that we have to bring younger people into these conversations. That we
Mhm,
need a representation every time of someone in that in that youth group, so that it could so that we can pour into them and they can also pour into us and teach us where they are at this time. Because,
That's right.
when we were growing up, we always said our parents didn't understand. They were too old. They just didn't get it. We're in that position right now.
That's right.
I'm the lady who walks outside and says, "Who is this parked in front of my house?" When did I become her? When did I become her? It's just it's so for me. I really enjoyed it. Like Sean was saying, Craig, when you were talking, we couldn't see you, but I felt it. You know what I'm
Felt you.
saying? I was just
Mhm.
like, oh my God, he is. It was just so heartfelt what you were saying, and for Kalen, he needed that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He needed that. And you going to Arizona, that is by no coincidence. That is
Mm-mm.
by no coincidence.
Mm-mm.
God be working when we ain't even thinking he working. He got a plan. Like I said, y'all know I live day to day. I'm on a day
Mhm.
to day concept right now. I ain't got no plans. Cause, Cause God ain't finna show me up no more. I done learned my lesson. You know what, Lord? Just I'm gonna do what you say do. I ain't
That's
got no
right.
plan, you know?
Right.
And so I think it's beautiful. I think the whole Unparented series and just all the series that we're doing, I feel like are things that people need to hear. And and the fact that we have places for them to go once they hear it to be able to work it out, you know? A lot
Yeah.
of times you don't know what you don't know until somebody tells you, right?
That's
And then
right.
when they tell you and they give you a solution, like, Nicole, I pray that he comes to your thing. I
I pray too.
pray that he comes to your thing because, hunty, that is going to be a testimony of all testimonies.
You transform my sister. That heart change transformed my sister. So I'm a firm believer. 100% 10 toes down, heart change works. If you don't know, it's heartchange.org, Nicole.
Yep.
Get on the website, find it near you. I am the biggest whole fan of Heart Change. My husband and I took it together. It was a very challenging experience, but it transformed me. I have my dagger statement. Do you know what I mean? Like, this thing is real. We need a surgery on our hearts because the heart is the first thing to form. We need it to be functioning and thriving so that everything can flow through it. Isn't there a scripture that talks about from the heart is what everything is flowing through? So if your heart is diseased and sick and hurting and wounded and broken, and then you're going to try to have a marriage on top of that, and then the children on top of that, and friendships, it's not possible. It's not possible. Nicole, can you speak on heart change?
Come on now. You know I want to.
Yeah.
I 26 years I've been doing this. It is not my creation, but it was a God thing. I kept seeing red hearts and the word change all over the place. And God said, get ready for a change of heart. And I thought I was doing great. I was fine. I was in church, I was ministering, I was public speaker. But God said, hey, I want you to understand me face to face, heart to heart, soul. My soul needed it.
Mhm.
And so God unearthed some things. I call it a deep root cleaning. Please don't ever tell anybody it's a retreat. It is a workshop. You're going to
Mhm.
work hard. You're going to work for 4 days, and you're going to come out on the other side of it changed. We have one coming to Roseville in about 3 weeks, the 20 weekend of the 27th, and then we have one coming Oregon, and another one, of course, the one we're talking about is the first week in October. You know, Sean, you and Andre can volunteer. Miss Wanda as well. Maisha, I see you. Um, and who else is on here? Your sister was on here. All of you who've gone through can come and volunteer to any of them. But it is life changing. It's a face to face with your own soul to hear the things that you have been afraid to speak or things that you only tell have to, I tell my biggest secret and my greatest shame whenever I'm there. Whatever God decides to shine a spotlight on, I remember one time I was in one of the workshops and somebody had a problem, and I don't recall what the problem was. And I heard a little whisper in my spirit, you have that problem. You have that same problem. And so I'm
Mm,
facilitating up front, and I started talking about my own business. There's no
mm,
hidden when God
mm,
gets you heart to heart
mhm,
and looks into your soul. Shine that light. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah, shine a light and get free. You can't get
it's
free
free.
and stay in the dark. You just can't. So you're gonna have to face it. You're gonna have to feel it, and then you're gonna have to go through getting free, because getting free is a process of growth and development. You
Right.
treat, a lot of times I thought, oh, get free. Wee. Yeah, get free to do what? Develop the
Absolutely.
skills that have gone dormant because you didn't weren't developing. So yeah,
Right.
we free means now you can start running. Now you can start, you know what I mean, learning how to use this tool, all of those things, which again is still has challenge to that. There's
I'm
still
glad
like a
I'm glad you
resistance.
said that because
Why?
it is a tool.
Hmm.
Heart change is a tool that God uses. It's not
Right.
a miracle working thing. You're going to leave there with a toolkit and you're going to leave there with new relationships. It's not like supernatural. You may get there and go, "Oh man." Friday night you're still like, "Oh man." Saturday night you're still like, "Oh man." And Sunday it may hit you. It may not hit you for weeks after you leave or months. Or you may pull out the toolkit when somebody calls you a year later and go, "Have you read the toolkit?" And something hits you. So take it as what it is. It is one of the tools that God uses, but the center of it is a personal encounter, not an over the counter God. Let's get that personal encounter going. That's the reason for it.
Amen. Amen. Dre, are you here on this call? Okay. I'm gonna say
He
no.
always talks about how mad he was the first day when he came through at me.
Oh, he
So
was
everybody,
furious. He
be
was
mad all you want,
furious.
folks. I'm not the one telling you. Oh, I hear Dre.
Yeah, he was furious. I'll never forget it. He was like, "Rawr." I was like, well, we're here now. So, but then I was furious on the third day. So I was like, okay, sorry, my bad. I get you.
So
Like,
what do I say to everybody? I say, pray before you go so you can't blame anything on Nicole. The Lord has to tell you to go, and the Lord's going to keep you there.
amen.
I'm just the messenger.
Well, we did have some youthful people on this today. My daughter is here still. My son was here. K Loud was here. Lena Brown. How did today's episode impact you and the watch party? You even made two comments.
Um, you know, Kaylin's my cousin. We grew up together. Um, he's always been very strong vocally. Very what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but very himself, wasn't ever shy to speak. Um, and I'm very proud of him and the person he is and the man he's become. And although we didn't grow up under the same roof, we share the same struggles and emotionally where we are at as adults, I think is very similar in our thinking. And I just love him and I'm just very proud of him. And yeah.
How did this episode impact you as you're raising a man and you are in your own process too? How did this episode speak to you?
Um, I always wanted a son first. So, but now that I have my son, oh, did she leave? Well, okay. But now that I have a son, I imagined him to be calm and quiet because I was very calm. I was very quiet as a kid and or just growing up in general, as well as his father. And he is the complete opposite of calm, quiet. He is all boy. He gets down. He's all over the place, and um, I want him to be safe, emotionally, and I want to be the mom for him that he doesn't have to hide. I feel like a lot of men, they feel like they have to be so strong and they can't show emotion and they can't cry and they just have to be tough. And I don't want him to be that way. I want him to know that he has a safe place and he can be vulnerable just like Kaylin was. And I'm so proud of him for just putting it all out there. And I appreciate Craig for speaking to him the way he spoke to him because I feel like he needed that. I know my cousin needed that.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like my son needs it. And um, it was very impactful, your words, Craig, and I appreciate it. And I send you love. Um, because it definitely put a seed, planted a seed in Kaylin's heart, and I hope it planted a seed in my heart for
Mm,
how I want to go about raising my son.
Amen. Craig, you
Well,
want to respond?
I appreciate it, and I think as parents, that's
Yes,
the one thing we really could hope we could ever do is to be not just a seed, but to be a seed planet.
Mm,
Because a seed planet usually is something that winds up having to die first, yes, but then grow and mature and take root in the life of the person whose heart it was placed and planted in. So that's a high honor, and it's something we all need to not take lightly when we go out places and we get up in the morning and we don't even understand that planting a seed happens at every moment of every day, whether it's just walking down the street, checking out, people at a grocery store, or being a public speaker or president or whatever it is. It's every place, every moment that we are interacting with someone or something else, we are planting seeds.
well, we are about to come to the end of this episode. I want to get us prepared for next week. You guys are all invited back. This is a family space. So if you find yourself here, you can consider yourself part of this family. One of the things, the terminologies I learned this week in SLB world, a concept or an idea is a baby. And that baby, this executive team takes that baby and starts to raise it up, raise it up. And then it becomes a ball. So the baby goes from baby to ball. And then that ball is thrown out into the community with the purpose of uniting and changing the world together. So thank you for being a participant in this baby's process because as I watched it today, I'm telling you, 3 weeks ago, I was hating this. I was like, I can't do this. This is horrible. Nothing about this is good. I don't like this baby. But today, just hang in there. The baby does start to grow up. It starts to sleep all night. And you know what I mean? Like little by little, I'm starting to see the fruit manifest of this baby, Craig.
The babies, it does eventually grow into its head, trust me.
Yes. Yes, it grows into it. So for everybody, just start. Start the thing that God has placed in your heart. It's a baby. Treat it like a baby. Don't beat yourself up for starting a thing that is in an immature stage. That's a part of it. So I just want to thank you. Next week, we will have Dr. Ron Elmore. This is gonna be riveting. I am so excited for episode 5 being the biblical meaning of grace. I'm super, super excited because I know that Dr. Ron is about to come in and bring this whole situation together. He's worked with me for 10 years, and I used to say to him, I just came here to get my wig on straight. I got to get my wig on straight. So I want you guys to come back next week and get your wig on straight. Because in order for you to help me unite and change the world, your wig can't be crooked. So until next week, I want you to go love your life. I want you to like, subscribe, and share. Share these episodes with people that you know. If somebody's name dropped in your spirit, I really want you to send them these episodes so that they can get this nourishment that they so desperately need. We're not making these shows to entertain anybody. We are making these shows to enlighten, impact, educate, inform, and most importantly, heal. So until next week, you know what I always say, go love your life and have an amazing weekend. Bye, y'all.